As we know, just give us your interpretation of what's happened on the South African bond markets and on the equities markets.
No big surprises. It's the financial sectors that are most vulnerable to this type of action. So banks have been sold down, bonds have been sold down, and the currency is the easiest place to go and get evidence of this. Amazing that just a week ago we were at 12.30 to the dollar. We found 13.60 at the open this morning. And if anything, I think what surprised people is the extent to which the rand has held its own, that many people would anticipate a much stronger, much more violent reaction to this type of midnight announcement.
And why do you think that is?
I think in part it's helped by the fact that there's a risk-on attitude globally. Perhaps a more technical explanation is that a lot of people had anticipated this, so that the rand was actually sold ahead, and that means now that you have the sell-off, there's a short covering to describe the technical action. And it remains the case that although that this is a dramatic cabinet reshuffle, what the rand is ultimately capturing is the robustness of the financial system, and what you have sitting behind the cabinet reshuffle and all of the narrative on this fairly stressful Friday is a very well-run central bank.
Now, when all the dust has settled and people begin to really take in the new administration, so to speak, from where you're standing, given that some of the people are not very well known, and more particularly the Finance Minister, Malusi Gigaba, is not known to really have a financial background, do you think that they'll be able to take the country forward, given that we're struggling with growth?
Look, the most obvious uncharitable perspective is to say you have a minister now in charge of National Treasury who does not come with the most glowing record from public enterprises and home affairs. Sifiso Buthelezi is recognized in capital markets, and he's been well known as a likely minister or deputy minister in finance. So there's a degree of surprise, and coupled with, oh well, we were expecting something like this anyway. A different view would say that South Africa is struggling to achieve economic growth. Some type of shake-up is necessary. And I think you could fiercely debate and defend either position. To me, the great tragedy is the sort of the cloak and dagger with which this was done. That two highly respected minister and deputy minister learned about their firing through the media. This has not been well managed, and it translates into uncertainty in an already fragile environment. The timing is poor, the communication is worse.
Do you think the way in which things have been done supports the speculation that's been going on for quite some time, particularly since the issuance of the Public Protector's report last year about state capture? Do you think that almost solidifies it or supports that narrative?
The charitable view would say Brian Molefe wasn't appointed. The less charitable view says today, Friday, it was necessary that there is the acquisition of a banking license. And at midnight, a new Minister of Finance was appointed. I suspect he's signing off that banking license today.
Now, given everything that is happening and the uncertainty going forward, what are you saying to your clients who are probably ringing the phone off the hook right now about how you're going to be investing their portfolios?
In any investment environment, this one or others, you don't invest first for the upside, you invest first for the downside. In other words, investment is about managing risk first. And coming into 2017, we expected a number of things. The one being that there was a very high risk of this type of action in National Treasury. We also suspected that there is a better than even chance of a ratings downgrade. We're also prepared for sluggish economic growth, and I think all of those have been presented to us. So it's not to say that we were fantastic in forecasting these outcomes. Of course, something entirely different may have transpired. But investing starts with a philosophy and a process that is designed first for risk rather than reward or the upside.
For people who are heavily invested in equities, should a ratings downgrade transpire, what would you advise them to do?
I'm going to argue that it's already in the price. And we've been arguing this for some time, that if you look at the pricing of South African government bonds, they were carrying a yield well above what you'd call sort of normal pricing. And comparing South African government bonds, for instance, to Turkey, Peru, Brazil, Russia, there was already a premium sitting in South African government bonds suggesting that capital markets were pricing us for a downgrade. In the case of equities, you need to be mindful of the most obvious implication, which in the immediate aftermath is for even more dull economic growth than we've got used to, and a reversal of the inflationary trend. You know, we've just got into the habit of expecting inflation to fall into early 5%. I think that this could reverse that.
Critically, coming back to the conversation around institutions, strong institutions, we have the Reserve Bank, which is supposed to be independent. We have the Director General in the National Treasury, who has got mounds of experience and we know has done a good job there. Is there any concern that key people in those particular institutions may go because of politics?
Of course there's a concern, but I think we need to be careful of separating out risk or concern with speculation. And a speculation was that Brian Molefe would come in as Minister of Finance, and look at the surprise appointment in the form of Gigaba. In the same breath, I think we need to, we just need to be mindful of how this all unravels, and recognizing that you make the point about the independence of the Reserve Bank. No part of this compromises the independence of the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank remains robust and independent. Of course, that may change if there is a different pronouncement, but I think we need to separate out the risk from speculation.
All right, some analysis earlier, and if we look